What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome in. I guess not welcome back because our series is over and it feels super weird after going a full month doing a message every single day. It feels a little bit strange to not be online as much, but there's lots of things happening in the background. Tons of stuff we're preparing for 2022. All of the advocates at 9 Seconds are working feverishly in the background to get things added to the website and make the tools and the resources very, very accessible to everyone. So that's what's been going on here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marci Batiste. I'm the founder and executive director for 9 Seconds, which is a progressive nonprofit organization where we foster freedom for women and girls, making sure that we're able to provide the tools and the resources that they need to not only prevent domestic violence from occurring, but to also secure their health, their safety, and their success going forward. So that's what I'm about. That's the work that I do. That's what I'm committed to. And today I was thinking, I also work with Dr. Will Moreland with his training company, and we're getting ready for, and we're gearing up for his quarterly training called Give Me the Mic. And I started my consulting business about 11 or 12 years ago, was when I went into entrepreneurship, but I didn't really have any clear direction for what I was going to do with the business, how I wanted to grow it, what it was going to look like kind of all grown up. And I ended up meeting Dr. Will at a training that he did called Brand Like a Genius. And it changed the game for me. It changed the game in so many ways I can hardly explain to you, but now here I am. That was, I met him about 10 years ago. So I had been muddling around with entrepreneurship for about 2 years by the time I went to that. And at the time I was selling isogenics. Everything looked way different than it does now. Let me just say that. But as I was working on some stuff for Give Me the Mic today and sending back some emails and so forth, it occurred to me how different things are. The vision that I have now for my training and speaking versus what I had when I started 12 years ago, completely different. My vision for what 9 Seconds is completely different than the vision that I started out with when I started my first nonprofit for domestic violence, which was called Brave Foundation. I say all that to say that sometimes God will put you in a position to do the thing that you least wanted to do, right? Like, it's not ever anything that was on your radar. It's not something that you've always dreamed of. Yeah, do we have those things that where we've got these, lifelong dreams, these lifelong visions and goals? Absolutely we do. And those things are important. But there will be these things and these times when situations or opportunities will present themselves where you just have to say yes. And you say yes with faith. And so I've talked over the last several years about my faith walk, right? Learning how to say yes and figure out the how later, figuring out how I'm going to get something accomplished, figuring out where the money for it is going to come from. And for me, it occurred to me that that's what happened with speaking. So my initial blush at entrepreneurship, I had no intention, no desire to be a speaker. In fact, it was the thing that I probably hated the most on this planet. Like, it made me sweat. It gave me anxiety. I would just be terrified anytime I had to speak in public. I remember the very first time I had to do, now I could do training. I've always been an excellent trainer, but training and speaking in my mind were different. They weren't the same thing. They were completely different. So in my work I was a bank executive. So in training, I'm teaching material. I'm teaching methodologies. I'm teaching systems and structures and things like that. To me, in my mind, public speaking, motivational speaking in particular, was personal. was about me. It was about my story. It was about who I was. And so the ability to get up in front of people and talk about myself was very close to impossible in my mind, right? And so that's what I want to talk about, is sometimes the thing that you're really truly called to do isn't something that you're going to feel the most prepared to do. But if it's, God gives you an assignment, and sometimes you just have to walk that out and trust that he's going to put the people and the places and the structures in place and grant you access to these opportunities to get the things that you need to fulfill your assignment. Case in point, bringing me all the way back now to give me the mic, and Dr. Will, right? So I didn't want to be a speaker. That wasn't what I went to his training for. The training was for branding. I was interested in branding my business. My business at the time was called Sweat Equity Transformations. I was selling isogenics. It was about transformation. So it was about changing your mindset, how you think about yourself, how you think about your body, how you think about nutrition. I was not going to be a public speaker. Did I tell you that? Yeah, it wasn't going to be a public speaker. This is how God have something in mind for you to do, and then he just makes the things happen for you to be in the position to be still and accept the assignment, right? And to be able to see like, oh, this is a resource. So I go to this branding training. I leave a coffee mug. The coffee mug is broke. Like the little top piece was one of those twist on things. It's a Starbucks mug, but it was one of the sippy ones, right? Where it doesn't spill over. Hey, Lisa. And so I leave the mug at the training. Dr. Will calls me. He says, hey, were you sitting here? I think you left your coffee mug, da, 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 da. I say, yes, I was, but just throw it away. It's just throw it away. It's not even worth saving. It's not even worth keeping. Just throw it away. He says, oh, no. I want to return it to you. So we arranged to meet at another Starbucks. And when I'm thinking I'm just going to go in, scoop up my mug, and I'm out. Because what I realized in his training was he was more expensive than I could afford, number one. But I was blessed, and I took feverish notes, like pages and pages of notes about how to brand my business. So I felt like I had a good start based on the information that I got from the training. And I only got into the training because of a relationship that I had with somebody else. They were like, hey, you're starting your business. You need to come to this. I think it would be beneficial for you. They were absolutely right. Fast forward back to the mug, right? So I go to pick up this coffee cup, think I'm just going to scoop it up, and it winds up being this lengthy conversation where he's drilling down on not just my business, but who I am, how I think. Like, I didn't realize I was under like scrutiny at the time, and it wasn't in a way of somebody prying or whatever like that. It was just like, once you get to know him and understand how he coaches and how he mentors, like, you would understand it. So I'm not even going to try to explain it. But the point is, he starts asking me a bunch of questions. I think I'm just going to do is pick up a coffee mug. I'm going to leave. But that's not what happened. And so when I tell you, God will put you in the position, he will put you in the position to gain access to the things that you need. Hey, Lindsay. The things that you need to walk out your purpose, to accelerate your life, to meet the goals and the dreams that he has planned for you. So remember, I only got into the training because of a relationship with somebody else. Knew I couldn't afford him, forgot the coffee mug, go to pick it up, end up having this long, drawn out conversation. Through the course of that conversation, he discovers my story. And y'all hear me talk all the time. Your story has value. And I'm going to tell you why your story has value. Your story has value. And so he heard in my story, as he got me to open up and talk about myself and my past and my experiences and sort of things like that, what he calls my competitive advantage. right? And at that time, because I was doing healthcare fitness, I should say, with Isogenics. And at that time I had lost about 200 pounds. I'd done it naturally. I was an end user of the products. I believed in the product. And so his thing was, that's your competitive advantage, right? And so that's kind of where we started going with the business. Well, then when he realized there was so much more to my story, because at this point, it was about 2 years after my domestic violence assault with my ex. So, I mean, I've got baggage on baggage on baggage on baggage that he's just kind of unpacking, right? He's just pulling stuff out. I'm just talking, telling my story. Your story has value. I want y'all to hold that, write it down somewhere. Your story has value. Remember, you will be put in a place to have access to the opportunities that you need to walk out your dream, your vision, your mission, your passion, and what God has planned for you. So, start talking about the domestic violence. Fast forward, by the time I walked out of there, we had developed this whole business plan that incorporated me writing a book, which I'd never done before, and me creating a platform as a public speaker, which I literally had no interest whatsoever in doing. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I had no interest in it because I didn't think I was capable. I didn't think it was possible for me, because in my mind, I carried with me, I'm a great trainer, but I suck at public speaking. That was my mindset. That's what I told myself. It never occurred to me that there may have been a vision or a plan that God had for me that had me to be a public speaker, to be a voice for the voiceless. Like, that stuff never even occurred to me, right? So I say yes to this stuff because at this point, Doc's invested several hours of his time with me. You know, he kind of stopped working on what he was working on to have this conversation with me. And then I'm feverishly like, notes, y'all. Like, when somebody's willing to pour into you, do not take that for granted. Don't miss that moment. Don't miss that opportunity. If somebody that's doing something amazing is willing to pour into you and share their insight, take full advantage of it, right? So I'm feverishly writing down notes, and I freaking say yes. I say yes to writing this daggone book, and I say yes to becoming a public speaker. I walked out of there. I sat in my car. I put my broken mug in the seat next to me, and I'm like, oh, snap. What did I just do? Like, I said yes to this. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. I'm not a public speaker. I'm still telling myself, like, I am not a public speaker. That is not who I am. That is not what I do. No way. The first time I tried to speak in public as a presentation to talk about myself, it was 5 minutes, and I bombed the hell out of it. I mean, I bombed it. Trash, terrible. It was horrible. And all I had to do was give a 3 to 5 minute speech. It's so funny to me now, but in the moment, y'all, I was horrified. I give a 3 to 5 minute speech about who I am and bring one thing that represented me. And I brought boxing gloves at the time, right? This was years and years and years ago, probably close to 20 years ago. And, sweat was pouring from every crevice of my body, and my voice was shaking. I had this lump. My forehead is starting to sweat. My armpits are perspiring. And like, I'm thinking about all these things that are physically going on with my body. And I'm like, when I finally got done with that, and it was in a group of my peers at the time, other bank officers, right? When I got done with that, I said, I will never, ever be a public speaker. This is not for me. It's not for me. And so then when I end up, fast forward 15 years, I meet Doc and we have this conversation, and I end up saying yes to writing a book and creating a speaking platform. Now I'm panicked because I said I would do it. And there's one thing y'all should know about me. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'll figure out how to do it. Even if I'm not happy about it, I'll figure out how to honor my word, because I take being a steward of my word very, very seriously. So I said yes. This person had invested all this time in me. Like, I don't know this guy from Adam, but man, when I tell you he was genius, I was just like, wow, like, how did you see all this stuff in me that I didn't see? But because I said yes to him, I knew that I had to figure out how to make it happen. And so fast forward, I wrote my first book, Journey to Find Your Butterfly Potential. As a result of that meeting, we realigned everything that Sweat Equity Transformations represented. And it went from just talking about physical well-being to really, really focusing on shifting your mindset, and particularly to women, right? So that part meant a lot to me. That part was easy for me to talk to women about the importance of changing your mindset, because for me, like, one of the things that I told him was although I had lost 200 pounds at that point, I still had that 400-pound mindset. And so I still operated, I still thought, I still moved around in the world like I was that other invisible being, right? And so mindset was extremely important. Women being successful was extremely important. And because at that point, I'm 2 years outside of the domestic violence, I didn't know what the DV work was going to look like, but I always knew from the time that I survived it that I would do something to help other women who were in that situation, or to prevent it from happening, etc., and so on. So over the years, we've tweaked the platform, and we've tweaked and turned, and I've massaged it a little bit, but the message has always remained consistent. It's about fostering freedom for women. It's about making sure that, and mentoring young girls, making sure that women have the information and the access to the resources that they need to not only prevent domestic violence, but to succeed and to believe that you can. Because for me, a big part of my life, I didn't believe I was capable. Career-wise, in corporate America, I'd proven success, right? I'd proven success. But outside of that, I was a functional train wreck. Like, I moved around in the world, but I didn't live. I sucked up air, and I did things, and I went places, but I wasn't living. And I definitely was not walking in my purpose at that time. I definitely wasn't living, as they say, my best life, even though I was having great fun and I was doing, my life was good for the most part, but it wasn't what I was here for. And so that was the reason for this video today, guys. Like I said, I was preparing for Give Me the Mic. It's coming up in December. I think it's like the 10th through the 12th. It's my birthday weekend. And I just started thinking about how new speakers think about their role, and people who have a message, and women who have a story. I'm starting a new podcast that's about allowing voices to be heard and stories to be told. And that comes from finding the courage to be able to share your story, to speak your truth. And even if your voice shakes, right? Because that shaky voice was enough to silence me for years. Like, I couldn't get past it. And so being able to now be in a position to be on the backside of that and be able to help other women tell their stories, to have their voices be heard. One of the most transformational things I ever did was write that book, Journey to Find Your Butterfly Potential. It was transformational because it was the first time I told my story. I told all my story. I told the truth about my story as I experienced it. And I want to put a pin in that, as I experienced it, because a lot of times, y'all, we get caught up in how we tell our story, how it's going to affect someone else. How is somebody else going to be portrayed in the story? How are other people going to think about this other individual or these other individuals as it relates to our truth? It's your truth. It's your experience. It's how you experienced your story. It's not wrong. And if people feel, this is my opinion, if people feel some type of way about how they're represented in your experience with your story, that says a lot about their participation in your story. What role did they play? And it says a lot about what they know about the role that they played. Because if you say, pick this up now, if you say you're going to write a book and you're going to tell your story and they're resistant, they feel that they're not going to be represented well. Why do they feel they're not going to be represented well? Oftentimes it's because they know that they did not operate well with you, that they did not honor you, that they did not respect you, that they took advantage of you, that they somehow violated you. That's why they don't want your story to be told. And not only do they not want you to tell it, they're afraid that somebody's going to pick it up and read it. But guess what? Not telling the story doesn't change the truth. It doesn't change the truth. Your story is still your story. Your truth is still truth. Those things still happen. They still did the same things that they did to you. By not telling it, it doesn't stop the pain. It doesn't change. It doesn't change anything. It simply silences it, and it allows it to fester, and it allows it to grow. And more importantly, it holds you hostage to it. It puts you in a form of bondage to this past experience because you're busy protecting the very people who violated you. You can't do that. Like, you have to speak your truth. You have to find the courage to tell your truth in some way. For me, that was that book. I wrote the book before I ever spoke about my truth. Because what I will tell you is sometimes you have to heal from your truth before you can speak it out loud, or you can verbalize it, or you can tell it publicly. Right? So the book gave me a way to get the truth out there. And one of my other mentors, the one who actually had originally referred me to the seminar that I went to that changed my life. He said to me, how do you, he called one day and I had just sent the manuscript to the publisher. And he said to me, what are you doing? I said, oh gosh, I just sent my book off. I just hit send on the email and tears are starting to fall. I'm starting to cry. My voice is starting to shake as I'm telling him that I did this. And his reaction was, oh my gosh, baby girl, congratulations. That's wonderful. Crying. Tears won't stop. The waterworks are on. Like, I have no more control over this. And I said, all I could say was, I just want to cry. And he said, why? Why? It's a great accomplishment. You just wrote your first book. Why would you want to cry? And I said, because there are things in that book that I have never told anybody, not even my mother. Especially not my mother. And he said, write this down, drop a pin in this one. He said, did you tell the truth? I said, yes, sir. Did you tell the whole truth? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, here's what I'm going to tell you about the truth. And that is, once you tell your truth and you put your truth out there, it can never come back to hurt you. It can never hurt you again. There's nothing, like, I walk every day confidently that there's nothing from my past that anybody, if I ran for public office and they're like, oh, we found out in 1987 you did. I sure did. Well, in 1986 yep. And I did all of that. I may have done all the things you say I've done, but I'm not who you say I am. I'm who I say I am. I get to write the narrative of my story. It's my story. It's my truth. I can tell it. And that's the gift, y'all, of telling your story, speaking your truth. Whether you put it in a book, or whether you tell it on a podcast, or you get up and you do public speaking to motivate and inspire other people. The gift is in the truth. It is in airing your truth, speaking your truth, telling your truth, getting it out of you, and releasing the chains, releasing that bondage, releasing, and however somebody feels about it is how the hell they feel about it. It is how they feel about it. Now, that being said, that's my real side, right? As a coach, what I will tell you, as somebody who helps people write books and helps people figure out how to tell their story, there's a way that you can go about telling your story that still honors your truth, speaks your whole truth, and doesn't throw anybody under the bus. There's a way to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody's saying that you have to go out and assault other people, because there can be ramifications to that. So you do have to, honor where you are in the story too. You have to honor what yet you still have to do, and who all is still to be impacted, right? At the time I wrote my story, my children were grown. I was in a place where I was just ready to get it out. I just didn't know how to get it out. And in fact, I didn't know that I needed to get it out until I met Dr. Will. And we talked about that first book. And he told me, and he warned me, he said, you know what, if this is your story, you're going to hit a wall. When you're writing this book, you're going to hit a wall. And I didn't get what he meant. I didn't understand what he meant. When he said it, I'm like, hit a wall. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I'm healed, honey. I'm good. I hit the wall. I had pictures of my past laying out, and I was writing one night, and I was taking myself mentally on a journey back to some of those places. And I hit the wall because I was faced with some realities and some ahas and some moments of transparency that I wasn't prepared for. Some things that I realized that choices that I had made had impacted my children, had impacted other individuals who would be, could be, or were hurt as a result of some of my choices, right? I was faced with some reminders of things that I had done that I wasn't prepared for. Let's just say that, right? And so that's the thing with me now, is making sure. That's why the new podcast is going to be so great. It's going to be so important, is because it gives people, not just women, but importantly, women and young girls, a place, a platform, and a means to tell their story. The podcast is going to be called Voiceless to Victorious, or Voiceless to Victory. We're still debating on that. So if you have an opinion on that, either way, let me know. But taking you from that voiceless victim space and putting you into a position where you feel powerful, you feel victorious, you feel like you're winning, you're ready to walk into your winning season. That's what the podcast is all about. Lisa, I got you on that, girl. Don't say less. We got this. Matter of fact, I'll hit you offline, but don't worry about that. We'll take care of it. So that's it, guys. I say all of this, and I don't know how long I've been on, because when it hit me, I was like, just go live. Somebody needs to hear this. Like I said, I was getting ready for Give Me the Mic. I was working on some materials and stuff that we're going to be presenting in the training over that 3-day period. And I was like, man, I remember the first time I went to Give Me the Mic. I remember the first time I started working on my keynote. I remember the first time when I was in there lost and I was trying to figure out branding and how much he helped me, right? And so I get excited. I still go to Give Me the Mic all the time. I still attend, every event. Well, I mean, now we work together, so of course I do. But even outside of that, I still made sure that I remain connected. Hey, Emma. I still remain connected because his trainings changed my life. His trainings changed my life. And so I never would have. It's all God's work and it's all God's timing, figuring out how to get you in the place and sometimes he has to use people to get you to move to the places where you need to move to receive the blessings that he's bestowed upon you and to be able to have access to the information that you need to birth your blessing and to move forward in your assignment. And for me, that's what that was like getting that complimentary ticket to go to that event, me saying yes by taking the day off work and committing to it, and then leaving the coffee mug there. That one simple thing, had I even said no to that, to just go pick up the mug, everything would be different. It would all be different. It's crazy. Then if I would have shut down in the middle of the conversation instead of just being transparent and being open, like, this man has wisdom, he's doing the things that I would like to be able to do in my business. Had I shut myself down and walled myself off and be like, I don't know this dude, like, I'm not gonna tell him all my business. Y'all know me. I'm just gonna be transparent because I didn't know it then, but I know now, like, the truth. When they say the truth will set you free, the bondage loosens. And like I said, if somebody's worried, hey Kara, if somebody's worried about you telling your story and they're worried that they're going to look badly in your story, it's because they moved badly in your life. They operated in poor, they operated poorly in your life. That's what that's about. That's about their fear of how that they're going to look. And somebody's going to see transparently what a crappy person they are. See, there's no shame in telling a story about the fact that you were violated. The shame is on the violator, not the violated. So if you're telling a story about something that happened to you or something that someone's done to you, and you tell the truth about what they did and how they did it and what all that looks, and then you tell the after effects of how it impacted you and how things changed for you as a result of it, that's what it is. And sometimes it just is what it is, and the truth is what it is, and it's okay to tell it. It's totally okay to tell it. In fact, you have to be able to tell your story. So like I said, I don't care if you put it in a book. I don't care if you decide you want to be a public speaker. However you want to tell your story. If you want to sign up to come on V2V, I'm just going to call it V2V podcast because we can't settle on victorious or victory. But if you want to come on the podcast and tell your story, if you want to tell your story, but you just don't know how, reach out. I want you to have the platform, the means, and the ability to tell your story and to free yourself from those truths and not to worry about what other people think about what happened and how you experienced your life. Nobody can tell you how you experienced your life. Only you know your experience. Only you know your truth, your whole truth, and nothing but your truth. You're the only one. That's why you're the only one that can tell it. Other people can tell versions of it. They can't tell the whole story, and they can't tell it the way you do. They can't tell it the way you do. And so that's why when God has something for you to do, he knows going in, you're the only one who can do what you do the way that you can do it. So that's my message for today, guys. Be mindful. Like I said, if you if you're ready to tell your story, let me know. If you're and if you're interested, obviously, if you're interested in attending Give Me the Mic, it's December 10th through the 12th. It's a 3-day event. This year it's all virtual, which is super dope because normally it's only been people who were already in the Genius Speaker Academy that can come to it, but it's now opened up to anyone because it's virtual. So if you're interested in more information on Give Me the Mic, just drop me a message either in the content or in the comments. I can't talk now. Or send me a DM and I will get you some information on how to get into that, and probably can even swing you a little bit of a discount. So that's it. That's Give Me the Mic. Again, tell your story. If you're interested in being on V2V podcast, let me know. If you're ready to tell your story, you just don't know how, I'm here to help. Lisa Boo, love you too, baby. I'm going to ping you as soon as I get off of here, and we'll talk about what you need to get done. So that's it for me today, guys. Have an amazing, amazing day. And as always, stay well, stay happy, stay healthy, and most of all, stay safe. Take care.